Alright, this is a demo of the SAML authentication module for Drupal 8. This is the SAML authentication configuration page. You can find that by going to Configuration, People, and then SAML authentication. And in case you're not seeing these drop-down menus on your local environment, you can install the admin toolbar module from Drupal.org. Okay, so I have pre-filled all of these fields with configuration from OpenIDP, which is it's a public identity provider that supports SAML. In case you want to do the same thing on your environment, you can use the metadata found at the OpenIDP metadata URL. I have also configured this environment to use the edu person targeted ID attribute as the unique identifier that we will use to map local users to SAML users. I've also configured this environment to create users specified by SAML server responses. So if there's a SAML authentication response for a user that does not already exist in the Drupal database, it will be created using these attributes. Let's see, I'll also show you the people page. We don't have anything other than user 1 in this database. So I'll go ahead and switch over to an incognito window, and I'll show you the metadata XML here. And in case you have an identity provider that can auto-configure a new service provider based on a piece of metadata XML like this, this is the URL that you'd want to point your identity provider at. Outside of that, there's probably not a whole lot of utility from this URL, but it's been useful for testing for me, so I left it in. Okay, so I'll go to SAML login, and I will be redirected to the third-party identity provider. So I will go ahead and log in, and I'll be redirected back to my local Drupal site. And you can see I've been a member for 0 seconds, which says this account is pretty new. You can go in and edit the user just like any other user account. For SAML users, this current password and the new password fields here are kind of problematic because the password is supposed to be managed centrally. So there will be some more changes around how these fields work, as well as password resets and that kind of thing. Those will need to go through the identity provider's change passwords service. So those are changes kind of coming down the pipe. They're not implemented yet. If I flip back to my administrative account and look at the list, you can see the user has been created. No roles have been granted. That's another change that the samlauth module will eventually get. It's basically like what roles should be assigned to newly created SAML users. And then the module also supports single logout. So if I go back to my newly created user and go to the SAML logout role, you probably won't be able to see it on the video, but that's actually a redirect through the identity provider's single logout service and back to this site. So both the identity provider user and the local Drupal user are logged out. So one other change is that SAML users should not be able to log in through the normal username and password fields. So we need to find a way to lock that down as well. Otherwise, this is a pretty good starting point for SAML authentication in Drupal 8.